Oh, hello, great readers. I'm Belchan.
I'm Nimikung.
I'm Banchan.
In this class, I'll read to all of you. Chap. 21 sec for Eyre and Autobiography.
As.
Ah.
Jane Eyre and Autobiography. Brontë. Chap. 21 sec 4. Allowed to come with earth. You had no right to be born. You make no use of life. Instead of living for and with yourself as a reasonable being ought. Fee bonus on some other person's strength. Burden her or himself with such a fat. Waked. Athie. Useless thing. You cry out that you are ill-treated, neglected, miserable. Then, do. Existence for you must be a scene of continual change and excitement, or else the world is a dungeon. You must be admired, be courted. You must be flattered, you must have music. Then you languish. You die away, which will make you independent of all efforts and all wills. Take one day, shared into sections. Is that leave no stray unemployed quarters of an hour. 10 minutes. 5 minutes include all. To each piece of business in his turn with method. With rigid regularity. Villain. Of one vacant moment. You have had to seek no one's company. Conversation. Sympathy. Forbearance. You have lived. In short, being ought to do. Take this advice. For you. Then you will not want me or anyone else. What may? Neglect to go on as heretofore. Craving. Oinen. Suffer the results of your idiocy. However bad and insufferable they may be. I tell you this plainly. And listen. Repeat what I am now about to say. I shall steadily act on it. After my mother's death, I wash my hands of you. Their thing is carried to the vault in Gateshead Church. We'll be as separate as if we had never known each other. Not think that because we chance to be both the same parents, shall suffer you to fasten me down by even the feeblest claim. Tell you as if the whole human race, ourselves accepted, was swept away, and we two stood alone on the earth. Bewildered. She closed her lips, delivering that tirade, answered Georgiana. Everybody knows you are the most selfish creature in existence, and I know your spiteful hatred towards me. Phil, you could not bear me to be raised above you. A title, to be received into circles where you dare not show your face, and so you acted the spy and informer. However, Georgiana took out her handkerchief and blew her nose for an hour afterwards. The Liza sat cold, impassible, and assiduously industrious. True, small account of by some, but here were two natures rendered, intolerably accurate. The other despicably servilous for the want of it. Judgment is a watchy draft indeed, and husky and morsel for human deglutition. It was a wet and windy afternoon. Georgiana had fallen asleep on the sofa over the perusal of a novel. She was a rigid formalist. She considered her devotional duties, foul or foul, every Sunday, and as often on weekdays as there were prayers. To go upstairs, then see how the dying woman sped. Unheeded. The very servants paid her but a remittent attention. The hired nurse, being little looked after her, would slip out of the room whenever she could. Bessie was faithful, but she had her own family to mind, could only come occasionally to the hall. I found the sick room unwatched. I had expected. No nurse was there. The patient lay still, seemingly lethargic, her livid face sunk in the pillows. In the grate, I renewed the fuel, rearranged the bedclothes. On her who could not now gaze on me. To the window. The rain beat strongly against the panes. The wind blew tempestuously. One lies there, I thought. Earthly laments. In pondering the great mystery, I thought of Helen Burns. Recalled her dying with her faith doctrine of the equality of disembodied souls. Still listening in thought to her woe, remembered and still picturing her pale and spiritual aspect. Her wasted face and sublime gaze, as she lay on her placid deathbed, murmured from the couch behind. I knew my stays. Was she reviving? I went up to her. It is I, boy, was her answer. Sort of. Alarmed, but still not wildly. She is at the lodge. And she repeated, who calls me aunt? Gibson's and yet. I know that face, and the eyes and forehead are quite familiar. To me, like I said nothing, was afraid of occasioning some shock by declaring my identity. Yet, said she, I'm afraid. It is a mistake, my thoughts deceive me. See Jane Eyre. And I fancy, like when none exists besides, was the person she supposed and desired me to be, was understood, and that her senses were quite collected, had sent her husband to fetch me from Thornfield. I am very ill, no, she said ere long. Then, and find I cannot move a limb. Should ease my mind before I die. What we think to live in health, burdens us as such in, are as the present is to me. The nurse here, I assured her we were alone. Well, done you wrong, which I regret now, which I gave my husband to bring you up as my own child. And there she stopped. After all, it is of no great importance, she murmured to herself, and then I may get better effort. To alter her position but failed, her face changed to experience some inward sensation of precursor, perhaps, of the last pang. Well, I must get it for eternity is before me here. Go. To my dressing case, open it, I obeyed her directions. I she said. It was short and thus conceived. Adam, good still. Send me the address of my niece Jane Eyre, tell me how. She is. Her to come to me at Madeira, a competency. And as I am unmarried and childless, her during my life to leave. I am Madam and C. John Eyre. Dated 3 years back. Why did I never hear of this? I asked. Prosperity. I could not forget your conduct to me, you once turned. On me, the worst of anybody in the world, you affirmed that there. Very thought of me made you sick. I had treated you with miserable cruelty. When you thus started up and poured out the venom of your mind at me with human eyes and cursed me in a man's voice, bring me some water. Oh dear, Miss Reed, said I, she required. Think no more of all this from your mind. Forgive me for my passionate language, then she heeded nothing of what I said, had tasted the water and drawn breath. She went on thus. I could not forget it, and I took my revenge. Be adopted by your uncle and placed in a state of ease and comfort was what I could not endure. I wrote to him. I was sorry for his disappointment, but Jane Eyre was dead. Died of typhus fever at Aloud. Now act as you please, contradict my assertion, expose my facade as soon as you like. You were born, I think, to be my torment, recollection of a deed which, but for you, persuaded to think no more of it, and disposition, said she, and one to this day I feel it impossible to understand how for 9 years you could be patient and quiescent under any treatment, and in the 10th break out all fire and violence so bad. As you think, I am passionate but not vindictive. Time as a little child, if you would have let me. Do you now kiss me? I approached my cheek to her lips. She would not touch it. Bid and again demanded water. With mine, the feeble finger shrank from my touch with glazing eyes. Shunned my gaze. Love me then or hate me last. You have my full and free forgiveness, a smile for God's poor suffering woman, effort to change her habitual frame of mind. Living, medying, she must hate me still. The nurse now entered and Bessie followed. I yet lingered half an hour longer, hoping to see some sign of amity, but she gave none. Tea was fast relapsing into stupor, mine again rally at 12 o'clock that night she died. Present to close her eyes, more were either of her daughters to tell us the next morning that all was over. 10. Laid out. Eliza and I went to look at her, Georgiana, who had burst out into loud weeping, said she dared not go. With stretched Sarah Reed's once robust and active frame, rigid and still. Eye of flint was covered with its cold lid, wore yet the impress of her inexorable soul. That go ups to me. I gazed on it with glim and pain soft, nothing sweet, nothing pitying or hopeful inspire at the fearfulness of death in such a form. Eliza surveyed her parent calmly. After a silence of some minutes she observed, to a good old age, spasm constricted her mouth for an instant, left the room, and so did I. To be continued.